Descenders are devices for rappelling fixed ropes, and they generally connect a person to the rope through the use of a seat harness. There are a wide variety of descenders available for use in rock climbing, canyoneering, mountaineering, arborist use, military use, professional rope access work, and caving. Some are designed for use on single ropes, while others may be used with either single or double ropes. They all basically function by passing the rope through a tortuous path that generates friction. The friction is adjustable, and this allows you to control your speed or stop altogether if needed. The byproduct of using friction to reduce your speed on rope is the generation of heat. The longer the pitch and the greater the friction, the more heat will be generated, and the more important it becomes that the descender you're using is able to dissipate that heat. Some general categories of descenders are eights, tubes, autolockers, bobbins, and racks. There are also some rudimentary ways of rappelling without a descending device that include body wraps, beaner brakes, and friction hitches such as the munter. For caving, there are specific characteristics that are desirable in a descender. The vast majority of caving vertical work is done on single ropes, so a device that can manage double ropes is not necessary. Because of the large variety of conditions found in caves, including short to extremely long drops, wet, dry, or muddy conditions, and ropes with very different properties, one of the most important characteristics of a caving descender is the ability to adjust the amount of friction to deal with these many variables. Other desirable characteristics include a friction path that doesn't twist the rope, good heat dissipation for long drops, the ability to lock off for hands-free tasks such as changeovers, crossing rebelays, or crossing knots, and quick attachment and detachment from the rope without needing to remove the device from the harness. The two classes of descenders that best meet all of these criteria, largely because they were developed specifically for caving, are bobbins and racks. Both bobbins and racks were developed in the 1960s when single rope technique came of age. Bobbins were developed originally in France by Dressler and later commercialized by Fernand Petzl. The device was adapted to the emerging alpine style of rigging that became the standard in Europe. Racks were developed in the US by John Cole and were adapted to the emerging indestructible rope technique that has been popular in America. Both types of descenders have seen improvements and an evolution in their designs, but the latest versions are still easily recognized as the descendants of their 1960s predecessors. Cavers will occasionally use other types of descenders, including eights, tubes, or even a munter hitch. These devices may be useful for caves with few pitches that are shallow in depth, where the smaller size and light weight of these devices becomes more important, but they are considered by most cavers to be unsuitable for regular caving use. Descenders are almost always made from corrosion-resistant metals, with the most popular being aluminum and stainless steel. There are a few custom or exotic devices made from titanium, but these are not widely available and tend to be very expensive. Aluminum is much lighter than steel and is better at heat dissipation, but it's much softer and wears faster. The result of this faster wear is transfer of aluminum to ropes where it oxidizes and leaves a dark gray residue that seems to bother some cavers who don't like to get dirty. The aluminum oxide doesn't do any harm to the rope, but it does stain clothing, gloves, and hands. Stainless steel is much harder, and so descenders last much longer, typically 3 to 5 times as long, but the harder and more polished surface also has a lower coefficient of friction. So bobbins or brake bars made of stainless steel tend to give a faster ride, all else being equal. When using either bobbins or racks, there are different ways to rig them that will provide more or less braking force. It takes some time and experience to be able to assess pitch and rope conditions to make better decisions about the best way to rig a descender for a given set of parameters. Consider things such as the length and angle of the pitch, your weight and the weight of the gear you're hauling, the diameter and cleanliness of the rope, the stiffness of the rope, and how much water or mud is present. A combination of variables that would promote a faster rappel, such as a free-hanging rope that is new and small in diameter, should cause you to rig your descender to increase the amount of friction available. A low-angle pitch on a fat, dirty rope should cause you to rig your descender for reduced friction. If you're unsure, then rig more conservatively, meaning err on the side of too much friction, until you develop your judgment and experience further. If you've never rappelled before, then seek out instruction from experienced cavers. Rappelling is objectively one of the most dangerous activities in caving. It's well known that most climbing and mountaineering accidents occur during the descent, and the same can be said for caving. Typically there is no redundancy when rappelling, so there is almost no room for error. In some circumstances, backup devices such as shunts rigged above the descender, or an auto-block hitch rigged below the descender are used for redundancy. However, in many recreational caving situations, there may be a need to keep both hands on the rope and descender, and there is often the need to cross multiple rebelays. So most cavers find that the use of backup devices is slow, inefficient, and distracts from the primary objective. Practice in a controlled environment until you've mastered the ability to control your rate of descent and understand how to properly lock off a descender, as well as how to ascend back up the rope. When first learning to rappel, it's wise to get a bottom belay if that's compatible with your type of descender, or request a top belay using a second rope. Always tie a stopper knot in the end of the rope before beginning a rappel, and always wear your ascending gear.
Okay.
Practice on short cliffs with expert supervision before taking these skills underground. You should attach a cow's tail or ascender to the rope as a self-belay before approaching an edge, and before committing to a rappel, you should always perform a safety check of your descender. To do this, unlock the descender, inspect it for proper rigging, then rappel a few inches to ensure everything is working properly. Only after passing the safety check should you remove your cow's tail or ascender from the anchor and begin the rappel. You should perform the safety check every single time you begin a rappel. This is at the top of every pitch, after crossing every rebelay, and after any changeover. Several vertical caving fatalities could have been prevented had this practice been followed. It takes only a few seconds, and it has saved lives. To learn more about the details of how to use bobbins, U-frame micro racks, and full-size J-frame racks, look for a series of companion videos that will cover how to properly connect these descenders to a harness, different ways to rig the rope, how to adjust friction and rappel speed, how to lock off for hands-free activities, and care and maintenance of the descenders.